Hi everyone. So today what I wanted to talk about was the use of your pastoral support teams in schools. So the vast majority of schools that I'm working with talk to me about their pastoral team, and what the nitty gritty of it is that if there is a concern with a child or a young person that's in a classroom or something happens throughout the day, that child is either sent to pastoral or the pastoral department are sought to intervene and support that child. Is this impactful? Is it the most effective way of utilising your pastoral team? No. And from first-hand experience, being a member of a pastoral team where that's what was happening, it's exhausting and it's really frustrating, because as a pastoral team, they spend a lot of time pulling together lots of different therapeutic recommendations, lots of different strategies, lots of information about the children and how to support them, which is always shared, but it's never utilised. Nobody ever uses it because everybody just goes, can you go and get pastoral? It's really, really frustrating, and it's actually a waste of people's time. And what starts to happen is the pastoral team is here in one system, everybody else is dotted around it. And if there's an issue, everybody just goes to pastoral. It's not helpful and it's not impactful. So what should be happening is, yes, you'll have your pastoral support team in school, your pastoral department. They will be pulling together all of these therapeutic recommendations, strategies, information that are going to help the wider school to support the children that they're working with, as well as perhaps delivering some low-level interventions and things like that. So what should happen is, for example, if we're talking about this child that perhaps is within a lesson and there has been an identified concern, or there's an issue that's happened throughout the day or something to that effect, rather than saying or seeking, go to pastoral, let's bring pastoral in, it should be something that's happening first and foremost with the person that's with that child. So, for example, if you're the teacher and you're teaching in your lesson, it shouldn't be a case of, can you go seek pastoral input, or can you go fetch somebody from pastoral? It should be the time for you to really utilise these therapeutic recommendations or strategies to try and support the child in the first instance. By not doing that, what you're actually doing is hindering the relationships between your staff and your students, because all of your students are going straight to your pastoral team. There's no input from anybody else across the school. That results in your pastoral team becoming very quickly overwhelmed, becoming very quickly ineffective, because they've got so many children or staff or young people who are seeking their support all of the time, because everybody's just pushing back to pastoral. So that means that your pastoral team then becomes really ineffective, becomes really overwhelmed, and sometimes can result in, hold on, I'm on a waiting list now, I've spoke to this child, okay, now I've got to go on to the next child, then you've got children waiting and children's needs aren't being met. It's not helpful, it's not impactful. So what should be happening is all of these therapeutic recommendations, strategies, key bits of information that are shared with you as an adult working with these children and young people, they need to be utilised in the first and foremost instance by you. If then you cross the bridge of, okay, I've tried these therapeutic recommendations, I've tried X, Y, Z, it's not working, there's still an issue, then you may say, okay, I think we need to have a conversation with the pastoral team. And that looks like a conversation with the pastoral team. It doesn't look like, I've tried this, there's nothing else I can do, over to you. It shouldn't look like that. It should be a case of you then liaise with the pastoral team to outline what you have tried, what has worked, what hasn't worked, and what you need next from your pastoral team to allow you to be able to support that child moving forwards into the long-term context of the lesson or the year or whatever it is, if you're a teacher. When you start to do that, you are then allowing those relationships between staff and students to flourish. You're allowing your pastoral department to be utilised to its full potential, and it's impactful and it's working, but you're also then making sure that you're aware of what's happening for individual children, because if it's constantly pushed back to the pastoral team, you're not having an understanding of what's happening for you in the context of you and that child, if that makes sense. So let's say, for example, you're in a maths lesson and it's every maths lesson. You're not going to know that it's every maths lesson because you're not having an input into what's happening for that child. You just know that there's an issue around XYZ for that child. So it's really important that you liaise with your pastoral team rather than handing over to your pastoral team. Once that's happened, there may be a review of, okay, we've reviewed the therapeutic recommendations, we've reviewed all of these strategies moving forwards, now let's reconvene. That then means it's over to you as the person working with that child and young person to now utilise these new and reviewed strategies, therapeutic recommendations. And it's a process. It's how things shift, it's how things change, and it's how the community, the school, pulls together for this whole school approach, rather than pastoral teams here and everybody else is dotted around it. Have a think about it. Take the time to pause and think about what's happening in your school and your input into these pastoral support teams, because pastoral responsibility, mental health, well-being, it is not something that lies just with the pastoral team. It lies with everybody in the whole school community.